Martin from the Philippines, and we are here in Real Talk Lifeline. So, welcome to podcast podcast meditations. And now, for this quick intro, we will be doing "Can't Hurt Me" by David Goggins. So, I just read this book this year. So, January 21 to February 21 in a month span, 2025, just this year. So, what are the best lines, lessons, and the impact it has had on my life? So, in this intro, we're gonna see like how do I maximize this book? How do I maximize this podcast meditations so that I get the most out of it? So, three quick tips over here. Number one, before we begin, if you're watching this video somewhere randomly, please take note there is a YouTube channel. So youtube.com/at Real Talk Lifeline. So this is the channel, and you can find the playlist of this podcast meditations of David Goggins. Can't hurt me. So, three quick tips. What are the three quick tips on how to maximize this podcast meditation of David Goggins? Can't hurt me. Number one, description and timestamps. So, what is this? When you watch the video, especially on YouTube, you can click on the description over there below. When it drops down, see more, like you see the complete description, you will see something called a timestamp. So, what is that? So right now, let me show you. It's gonna look something like this. So if you press this number in the description, 155, thank you for testing the timestamp. So it works. So that's the description and the timestamp. For those of you who want to skip ahead, especially this is 11 episodes, get right to the part that you want, whether it's the start of the meditation, the podcast meditation, or the challenge, which you will see later on. So next tip to maximize your experience here, make notes. So, what is this? This is your own aha moment, your own eureka moment, your own epiphany, realization. So, what is this? There are lines in the book. As I read them, they hit me to the core, to the soul. And sometimes you get a moment of clarity. You get a moment of, I can totally relate to this, or this is something I can use right now in my life. Not all of the lines might hit, so you can make your own notes. More powerful when you write it down because it ingrains into your mind and you feel it even more. So, even more powerful when you make your own notes, not just mine. So, the last tip over here, do the challenges. In the book, in the first 10 chapters, there are challenges. So, you can do them along with me. I am not forcing you to do it. You can do it at your own pace or make your own version. When I read this book, David Goggins, he did a lot of crazy shit. So that's another thing which I'll touch on in the ending because this book is it has mature language. David Goggins does not tap dance around the truth. He just says it straight, unfiltered, uncensored, and I love it. So every chapter, the first 10 chapters, has a challenge after that you can do. So it's not just an action, it's you testing the lesson of that chapter. And even in the last chapter, which doesn't have a challenge, I still did something. So you can have your own version. The point when I read this book is not to compare, it's more of, I would rather say inspiration, meaning if he could do this and he could do the impossible, what is my own version of the impossible that I can do? So that is the meaning of doing the challenges. Start with what you can. If you can't run, then walk, right? If you can't do 100, do 50, right? So that's all that means. What is your own version? And I do it alongside with you in this podcast meditation. So enjoy this podcast meditation of Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. I'm excited for you. You will also see how I learned the impact on my life. And if you are crazy enough, test it and you will see what if, what is possible. Thank you. I love you. And I will see you in the podcast meditation.